Okay. I think we can push it a little further. And yeah, I think that's it for me.
So this is for the first view of these droids getting hit. Now we were wondering on this shot, this is incomplete. This does not have lasers and stuff in it yet. The catapult balls that get thrown,
yeah.
Thinking, like, what do they do when they hit the ground?
I think they should be like a big water balloon. They should sort of splatter when they hit.
Are they going to leave a trail behind them then of glowing?
Yeah, let the thing splat when it hits like a water balloon, but then the pieces of it continue to go forward like it does here and knock people over and you know, a big glob of it.
Okay.
It's like Vaseline in the water balloon.
Now, I didn't know if you wanted to make this shot longer to accept that select of yours.
Well, do we have a tighter select?
It's funny enough, that's tighter already. I'll look at some other alternatives.
Why don't we try to take the from this and the big boomers from the other one?
Okay.
The big battle was pretty difficult at the time because nobody up until that time had done a synthetic battle with like thousands of soldiers or, you know, people fighting each other, creatures fighting each other. It's been done a lot since, but that was, as far as I know, it's the first time it had really been done without using real people, you know, all computer graphics.
The bosses would do terrible things to me. Terrible things to me if me going back there.
You hear that?
Yeah?
That is the sound of 1,000 terrible things heading this way.
Early in the Phantom Menace, we are warned of impending doom, which will culminate in the movie's climactic battle. Sweeping combat sequences have been staged throughout cinema history, but never have they been fought by entirely digital armies.
We're going to tighten up on Yoda, right, and then we'll tighten up on Sam.
Until a visual effects revolution finally caught up with George Lucas's imagination.
The last 10 years, really, has been spent for me trying to bring the special effects business to a point where I can do another Star Wars, which means developing the CG technology, then getting it to a point where it's cost-effective.
CG, or computer-generated imagery, is the revolutionary tool that enables Lucas to project his imagination onto the screen. And nowhere is that more evident than in the Phantom Menace's end battle. With the Phantom Menace, George Lucas has launched the genre into a new era. A battle between completely CG combatants has never been accomplished before and marks a significant milestone in filmmaking.
It's way beyond anything that most people imagine. If you take the making of a movie and times it times 10, you've got what goes into a special effects production.
I think the thing that's always attracted me to films have been the possibilities with the effects work, and there were sequences in this film that really grabbed hold of me, and one of those was the final battle with, you know, 5,000 Gungans fighting 5,000 droids. It just seemed like, you know, a great opportunity to try something, and to put something on the screen that no one had seen before.
I screwed it up.
George Lucas drew up his battle plan shot by shot through a series of drawings called storyboards.
I don't know how high. Well, we were going to go up to it.
And he spent several months working with conceptual artist Doug Chiang on the design of the alien opponents.
The battle droids were actually one of the very first things that I started to design for the film. And what George wanted was he wanted a new version of the stormtroopers. He wanted a robotic version of the stormtroopers. George also described the Gungan world as very aquatic, very swamp-like, and so we gave the Gungans aquatic characters. You know, they're more amphibious.
Chiang's mission was to design never-before-seen creatures that the audience will accept as real.
For us, it was a matter of creating and designing a character or a species of characters that would just work and look believable.
After Lucas approved Chiang's character designs, they were sent to ILM's animation department. There, digital models were constructed in the computer. The animation team could then replicate each three-dimensional model into thousands of creatures, every one of them having the ability to perform distinct motion.
That's something I'm always aware of, you know, is not to get so wowed and, oh, look at this, we've got 8,000 characters on the screen, and then some, you know, a little kid looks at it and says, yeah, but they're all walking the same, you know, so we don't ever want that to happen.
Murin assigned animation supervisor Tom Bertino to the task of populating the battlefield with unique and believable characters.
The only trick to creating a believable performance is having a crack crew of animators with you who know their craft and know how to breathe life into a character. And it was all I could think of while we were working on this project, because you've got the droids who are so mechanical and stiff, and then you've got Gungans who are very loose, organic, and floppy.
Early in the production, Lucas created cartoon-like animated sequences called animatics. These provided a blueprint of what he envisioned in the final shots.
The end battle was tough to visualize. We had animatics that were being fed to us throughout the show, and then we'd hear, oh, by the way, you know, there's 2,000 other ones in the background. It took quite a bit of our time figuring out what it was, because it was such a massive thing.
Murin was faced with the challenge of filling the screen with thousands of digital combatants. Traditional animation, moving one frame at a time, for this many characters would have taken years. So ILM needed to find a much faster method for creating believable motion.
Motion capture was originally designed to allow for episode 1 to have the tremendous number of volume of performances that they needed for the show.
We didn't do any sort of crowd simulations or anything like that with emotions. They were all real motion capture or hand animated characters all the time that we just replicated over and over and shifted them around a little bit so that you couldn't tell one character was moving the same way as another.
Inside ILM's motion capture studio, a performer is outfitted in a suit covered by reflective markers. As he moves, several infrared cameras track the changing positions of these markers. This information is fed directly into computers, which translate the points of movement into body motion that can be applied to a CG character. This technique was utilized to create a unique motion pattern at the beginning of the battle, when the droid armada fails in its attempt to destroy the Gungan force field. The robotic warriors must then penetrate the shield on foot.
What we needed to have for this shot was to have the battle droid passing through a force field to get to the Gungans in battle. So we did a variety of takes here, and we just had the rope to simulate a force that the person was going through.
The motion capture data of the performer struggling against a rope became the driving force behind the CG droid's advance. Digital artist Chad Taylor was responsible for seamlessly blending the newly created droid action with the rest of the shot.
So we started with our background plate, which was manipulated in our digital matte department. And then we have our battle droids, where one of the elements was this sort of erosion effect of them kind of ripping through the shield, and created a lot of different elements to show that breaking through effect. So by combining all these together, this is what you come up with.
With the battle underway, thousands of droids and Gungans engage in hand-to-hand combat. Senior animator Kim Thompson helped choreograph the hostilities.
Jeff Light, who would pass on the motion capture data to us, actually did perform the Gungan infantry motion capture himself.
Light and his partner, James Tooley, spent days locked in intergalactic hand-to-hand combat. Their actions filled the panoramic background of this battle between good and evil.
What's rather funny about this is that it really came down to the whole film is my office mate, me fighting it out to see who wins for the film.
Not every element of the end battle sequence, however, could be created on a motion capture stage. Some elements were filmed against blue screen, allowing them to be isolated and inserted into the scene.
And we used everything we could think of. Mostly, there was a lot less computer graphics than people might think. We did a lot of stuff with real explosions, real miniature ships that you see going along on the ground that crash. We had a really nice model shop here, and at the time that seemed to be the best way to do it. And I still think it was, because it looks pretty good.
In the case of this sequence, we were adding a lot of explosion and pyro elements to create a feeling of intensity in the battle. So what we did is took a lot of blue screen photography, different kinds. We had some fireballs and some that just throw big plumes of dirt and fire. Also added a lot of foreground smoke to kind of really put you right in the middle of the battle.
The end battle between the Gungans and droids is epic in scale. And never before has an audience witnessed such sweeping warfare created entirely in a computer.
It really feels like you're in a battle there, and it all looks pretty much real. The trick is, how do you do it as good as you can in the time and budget that you've got? That's really the trick.
By blending his mythological story with revolutionary visual effects, George Lucas and the team at Industrial Light and Magic have taken the epic Hollywood battle into the new millennium.